Main man, made man here. Y'all know how I get down. We talking boxing, man. I like to give a post-fight review of the Peterson versus Sergey Lipinets fight that took in yesterday. I called that fight live here on YouTube, so I didn't pretty much put in a post-fight review. And I want to give a post-fight review on this fight, man, because I woke up this morning thinking about that fight last night. And for those who don't know, full disclosure, I'm from Washington, D.C. So it's like, you know, this fight really hits home with me because what people don't know, Peterson has been part of the fight culture here in this town for a very long time. Him and his brother, for that matter. That whole Headbangers Gym is a heavy part of the fight culture in D.C. So to see Peterson call it a quits on his career or retire, it really hits home. And I will probably do a separate video based on the legacy that Peterson leaves in the boxing world. But that's going to be separate from this video. This video is just based on the Sergey Lipinets fight that he had yesterday. And when I do that video, people will find out Peterson he's a cool dude, you know what I mean? Always humble, always respectful. Never ran from nobody, former world champion, come up to 147, gets him a title at welterweight, and very entertaining fights. And that's Peterson, you know what I mean? But we'll get to that in another video. As for yesterday, I'm very disappointed. For those who don't know, and I called this live once again, this was my reaction yesterday. I was very disappointed in the game plan that was dished out by Barry Hunter. Peterson is the kind of fighter that listens and hangs on every word that Barry Hunter says, and he has every reason to. This is the same man that rescued him as a child, him and his brother, and took them in. Gave them a place to call home, gave them a stable life. So we can totally understand why Peterson listens to Barry Hunter as much as he does. And so whatever the game plan is set forward by Barry Hunter, that's the game plan that Peterson is going to try to the best of his abilities to execute. And I thought yesterday's game plan was way off. I seen a lack of preparation for their opponent yesterday. Because anybody who knows anything about Sergey Lipinets, you know that his bread and butter, as it was said on the live stream, is on the inside. You know that Sergey Lipinets fights best on the inside. He's a come forward guy, and once he gets to the inside is where he likes to do majority of his damage. Sit on a bunch of his punches and plant his feet. And he can be a bit flat-footed at times. But if you know these things about this dude, you would not execute a game plan to allow Peterson to fight on the inside as much as he did in yesterday's fight. It seems as if that Barry Hunter thought that Lamont can go in there and outwill Sergey Lipinets. Despite the fact that Peterson is 35 years old, despite the fact that Peterson has been out of the ring for 14 months. And also, we seen in his last fight against Errol Spence Jr. how much, damage that he possibly took in that fight. The thing is, Peterson brings many different skill sets to a fight if you enable him to do so. He can box from the outside. He can move. He can mix it up. He doesn't have to be a toe-to-toe, blow-for-blow type fighter. He's given us many fights in that fashion. Don't get me wrong. But also, whenever he executes fights like that, he takes a nice portion of the fight to box. And as we seen yesterday against Lipinets, whenever he chose to work on the outside and work behind the jab, staying at distance, given that he had the height and reach advantage, it was working for him. I thought he was putting the jab on Lipinets very good on the outside. And whenever he was starting to put together some right hands to go with it, they were landing pretty well on Lipinets. And all Lipinets was trying his best to do was find ways to get to the inside. But it seems as if that at portions of the fight, when Peterson was going back to his corner, he was being encouraged by Barry Hunter to keep working to the inside and keep outworking him and keep punching. He felt as though that Peterson had more will, had more speed on the inside. So he wanted him to fight him at close quarters. And this is why we saw Lamont Peterson doing exactly as he was told and kept going back to the inside. And this is where Sergey Lipinets started to turn the tables as the fight progressed on. Sergey Lipinets is 29 years old, much younger than Lamont Peterson, has taken not nearly as much wear and tear on himself, though he is a former kickboxer and stuff like that. But as far as in the boxing ring is concerned, he has not taken nearly as much wear and tear on himself as Lamont has. So Lamont is an older man. I would have thought that he would have chose to box at a lot of portions of the fight. We've seen Lamont Peterson boxing against fighters like Danny Garcia. And then he turned the heat up on Danny Garcia in like the last 4 or 5 rounds. That would have been a much better game plan to execute if you wanted Lamont to go toe-to-toe like that. Preserve him for at least half of the fight. It would have been a smarter strategy, as opposed to just going in there for most of the fight and trying to go toe-to-toe with an opponent where that you're fighting to his strength. And we seen Lamont Peterson then get stopped. And it was a very close fight at that point. Don't get me wrong. Lamont Peterson was giving out his fair share of punishment. I thought he kept going to that left hook to the body, and it was working for him a lot of portions of the fight. But you were also planning to the strength of Sergey Lipinets. Sergey Lipinets was staying true to his particular game plan of trying to get to the inside for majority of the fight. And he fought a good fight. I ain't got nothing bad to say about Lipinets. But I thought that the Peterson strategy and what Barry Hunter told him to do allowed Lipinets to remain in this fight and make this fight as close as it was. Lamont has a jab. He has a good jab. And he has good footwork. He should have used those parts of his skill set for a lot of portions of this fight. He did not have to get in there with a rough and tumble maul and brawl. It was unnecessary, especially at this point in his career. Very unnecessary, man. So it was very unfortunate. And Sergey Lipinets, by Lamont playing to his strength, eventually his strength won over the fight. And we seen the towel come. You know, what was that, rounds, 10? I forgot. I don't know if it was 10 or 11, but we seen the towel come over the rope, and I just knew then. I said, man, when Lamont got knocked down, at that point, it just looked like he just gave it all up. Like, you could see the look on his face. It was like everything throughout his career, it was like that was, you seen how that was it. I didn't give a prediction for this fight, but I was already wondering if I would have done a prediction or a lead up to this fight, that would have been the thing that I would have been bringing up mostly. For one, I would have been questioning does Lamont want to be here? You know what I mean? Does he want to continue to fight? He's been out of the ring for so long. I wasn't even sure. I thought he was going to retire after the Spence fight. I honestly wanted him to retire after the Spence fight. At that point, Lamont had no more to really fight for. I mean, even by him beating Sergey Lipinets, it doesn't promise him a title fight. It just keeps his name in the conversation, given the rankings that are going on in the sanctioning body. But I was very disappointed, though, man, at the end of the day, with the game plan of Barry Hunter and Lamont Peterson. And Lamont retires. Yeah, he retires, man. We're going to miss him in the sport. We're going to really miss him in the sport, but he could have won that fight yesterday, man. He really could have. And maybe he would have retired afterwards anyway, but he could have won that fight. Lamont wanted to make this a war. I heard his talk leading up to it, and I don't know if this is once again Barry Hunter and them gassing him up and telling them this is the game plan that we're going to execute. But he was even speaking prior to this fight saying that we are going to go to war. It's going to be a bloody war. And who knows, as the warrior that Lamont Peterson really is, maybe this is the way he wanted to go out. That's something I'm not sure of. If he wanted to remain in the sport, I wouldn't have suggested him to fight in that manner. But maybe this is just the way that he wanted to go out. And maybe I'm being a little too hard on Barry Hunter with this. Maybe this is something of Lamont's doing. Maybe because he was really excited in the corner and he was smiling and he was saying, you know, I love it. You know, this is what I love. I love this type of, maybe this is what he wanted. But he wasn't smart. And it wasn't the easiest way to victory, in my opinion, over an opponent that fights his strength on the inside. But, it is what it is. Sergey Lipinets will go forward and continue to keep his name at in the welterweight division, at the top of the welterweight division. There's going to be a lot of fighters that are welcome fights with Sergey Lipinets, especially fighters that need something to do in the meantime between huge fights. Maybe Sergey Lipinets can work his way up to the world championship level, but he's a reasonable opponent for guys like Keith Thurman and Sean Porter, maybe even Danny Garcia. He's a very probable opponent. We'll see how it works out, man. We'll see how it works out. But we're going to miss Lamont Peterson. Gave us another hell of a show. Went out on his shield. And, he'll be missed around the sport. Humble dude, man. Cool dude. Came from homelessness and poverty. Rose to the top of boxing. Gave us many memorable fights. And we'll miss Lamont Peterson. To the next video, Main Man, Made Man. Don't forget to subscribe to Twitter, Made Man 511, Facebook, Main Man, Made Man Boxing Forum, Google Plus, Main Man, Made Man. When you look at the punch stats, they were almost pretty much even, all across the board. And I just thought that could have been just a major, like Lamont could have stayed on the outside and boxed this guy, bro. He could have boxed him at least for 4 to 5 rounds, got up good and comfortable on the scorecards before he made it the type of fight that he made it. Or maybe came out a bit earlier and made that type of fight and then boxed down the stretch. Either way, we've seen Lamont Peterson do it several times throughout the fights, switching up the game plan mid-fight. But he didn't do it this time. So, it is what it is. To the next video, don't forget to subscribe. Peace out.